spot Bitcoin ETFs pulled in record-breaking $2.8 billion inflows in one day. Institutional crypto frenzy. So spot Bitcoin ETFs pulled in record-breaking $2.8 billion inflows in one day. I believe led by both BlackRock and Fidelity as they rotated out of equities amid whatever is happening within the oil markets, at least the outfall from what's happening in the Strait of Hormuz. So total Bitcoin ETF AUM now exceeds $110 billion, and institutions are treating Bitcoin as digital gold. I think that's a sign that many people are scrambling to figure out where can they park cash, where can they park their liquidity during times of extreme market volatility, as we've seen over the past week. At the same time, Ethereum staking surged to a new all-time high, with over 35% of ETH supply now locked up. And that's directly fueled by BlackRock's staked ETHB ETF that gives institutions easy yield without the custody headaches. I believe ETH price jumped 11% week to date despite broader market pain. And they clocked network revenue at record levels. So it's interesting because I've had a discussion many times over the past week, including this morning, about where can I park my capital? What is good? Many people have rotated into gold, I believe the Japanese yen, and some other assets because they had been traditionally seen as safe haven assets during these times of volatility, or let's say times of projected high inflation rates for fiat currencies and market downturns. But it seems like that's all piling into Bitcoin and ETF this week. Maybe we'll see that rotation out next week and into something else. It just seems like we're trading capital around. But good news for Bitcoin and ETH holders in the meantime.
Yeah, it feels like in the past this would have instigated a new bull run alt season, but that's likely not happening now. But it's still pretty impressive numbers. And it kind of feels like out of nowhere, people rotating out of gold and into these two. But the only thing I can think of is that last week we spoke about the SEC and the CFTC announcing that they are not going to be labeling most of the major cryptocurrencies. I believe 90% of cryptocurrencies are not securities, including Bitcoin and Ethereum, obviously. So I don't know if it's a result of that happening and people saying, okay, that was the signal I needed to rotate my capital in because it's not a security, it's safe, it's, there's a downturn right now, but it's bound to go back up. I don't know if that's the case here, but it does seem unusual. When I saw this, I was like, really? March 21st, that was an all-time high for ETF inflows? That doesn't seem right. Like, did I miss something?
Yeah, same. That's wild. But again, this news might change. But again, good news for Bitcoin holders.
Bit of a quiet week for crypto, but Kraken, obviously one of the titans of the industry and one of the biggest crypto exchanges on the planet, is basically announcing that there is an IPO coming up. So they kind of nixed plans for their planned IPO last year, and then they confidentially filed an S1 with a $20 billion valuation with NASDAQ. And they're targeting sometime was supposed to be the first half of 2026, which is right now, basically in the next few months, but maybe later in the year is more realistic. In parallel, U.S. senators and the White House struck an agreement in principle this week to resolve the bank crypto clash over stablecoin yield. So maybe that's a key blocker here in them going officially public. So Kraken filing is the next test of public marketing appetite for crypto infrastructure after Coinbase, who's obviously done their IPO a few years back. But I don't know when this is going to happen, but it kind of seems like all these big exchanges are going to eventually IPO. It makes sense if they want to break into the banking scene. We covered Kraken applying for that official banking charter in Wyoming and also getting access to something that would allow them to directly access the Fed books. So I think they're all going to be doing this sooner or later.
Yeah, I mean, it's only a matter of time. I think I've been waiting for the Kraken IPO for a while. I know, Coinbase was sort of the trailblazer there. They ran into a lot of trouble with their IPO and regulatory oversight, at least scrutiny coming from the SEC at the time. So yeah, I'm not sure what this is going to look like, but I'm sure it's going to go smoothly for Kraken. This is a very, very stand-up company. They've been operating in the U.S. under a compliant framework for a long time, and I'm sure many people are going to want exposure to this company because it is like one of, if not the most retail and like a normie friendly account or platform for crypto custodial holdings. So kudos to Kraken, and yeah, we'll see how that pans out, man.